Hello, my beautiful souls. This is Tenebris Gate. I'm your host, Ten. So, a lot of what I do is basically I try my best to have a dialogue. I don't do activations. I mean, you could probably loosely call it a reading in some ways. It's, I use what I use is whatever I use is supposed to support and facilitate the dialogue, the conversation, the difficult conversation sometimes. Right before I started, the King of Cups came up because I think, we don't always take initiation in diving into our emotions. I mean, it can be really hard because we often think a lot of different things. We may not think that we're worthy and deserving of having certain things or having a certain lifestyle of something, or being special and shining and having confidence and being seen. But very often we need to have kind of a bigger picture view of all of that, because, and I understand, I do, because in order for us to have this depth of, connecting to our emotions, we do kind of have to recognize that emotions are energy. I couldn't sleep at night, because I'm a mom and sometimes your kid just won't go to sleep. And so sometimes what will happen is, in periods of inconvenience, periods of where you're going to be, when we're in this world, we're going to be triggered regardless, no matter what we do, no matter the pursuit of a comfortable life, you're going to be triggered. And I kind of had this realization as I allowed myself to kind of loosen control over my feeling state, and I stopped intellectualizing my emotions and stopped kind of having a dialogue about my emotions, and just allowed myself to really feel and connect to that emotion and the energy of it all. And I really oh wow, this is actually energy. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correct, but Qigong, is it Qigong? It's like a Chinese approach to, let's say, wellness. Let's just say wellness for now. And it's very, from what I know, energy based. And so they would probably say that when we're having anger, and it's okay if you need to correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not going to take it personally, but I felt in my own body a rush of energy that went upwards, and it felt red hot. And this might seem insensitive to those who closely identify their personalities with feeling states, or their trauma to feeling states. And I understand, there's a great many things that happen in our lives that can be rather difficult and harmful and unsettling. But energy does occur through our bodies in an emotional state. And when you kind of allow yourself to breathe and really relate to your feeling state in an energetic form, it's harder to take that feeling state so serious, because of the fact that it's so temporary. Energy is always shifting in us. It's not exactly permanent, but not exactly unpermanent. It's it's, I don't know how to describe it, but it exists, and it can become something new. And I've been really trying to hone a different approach in my life, because I have gone really tired of being led by feeling states since I was really young, actually. but also too, I don't like being led by my insecurities. I do not like being led by negative, false belief systems. I don't like being led and controlled by old toxic habits that keep me small. Now, remember the disclaimer, right? I'm not an LMC, doctor, financial, legal advisor. All choices are your own. You have this beautiful thing called free will, right? And a lot of these dialogues are going to be imperfect. So they're, often I'm trying to translate something that's going on internally or from the divine source if it's a collective message. And that means I'm going to have sometimes half-finished thoughts, or something about how source says it is going to kind of be hard for me to define. And that's totally okay. It's totally okay, because we're just having a dialogue about various different things. And you know what? It comes down to the fact that, I think that we as humans do get a little attached to things. I think, I had this realization. Okay, all right, so Dragon Age, right? Let's look at Dragon Age. So if you look at Solas, by the way, I don't own Dragon Age or the character Solas, but I really, when I think a great many people are drawn to this character Solas because he, I hate to say it, is very much the wounded mage warrior scholar. He is the type of person that is not emotionally available. He will, even like when they did the third one, I thought like they could have done a better job with his character and the love interest, because it was clear to me that she had to have a lot of trauma to be she had to be trauma bonded to just forgive him just like that, without thinking about, sorry, but like, spoilers, but like, it just felt like they kind of slapped some things together. And so if you disagree with me on that, because I felt like, Solas is deeply, tightly controlled. He intellectualizes things. He tries to stay away from his emotions. He's mission driven. He thinks only I can fix the world. And there's not a lot of room available for another individual in that. And so then if you compare, and I know this is crazy, like so crazy, but here's a high priestess here, right? When we connect to our inner wisdom, we can see that there might be some trauma related patterns in our lives. And you can kind of get a hint of some of your trauma related patterns by things that emotionally like in terms of archetypes, what you are emotionally drawn to by the stories you read. Like for me, like I'm very drawn to sci-fi fantasy stuff. Like I'm very drawn to the strong characters. I'm very drawn to love interests that are both emotionally available and not emotionally available. So I feel like, Bull. I feel the Iron Bull is actually more likely to be emotionally available as a whole, because I feel like he's more likely to respect consent and ask boundary stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's other stuff about Bull that if we did an analysis, we'd also explore other aspects of Bull that may not be emotionally available. But I feel like when he really connects and he fully connects, he's all in for it. He's not going to walk away from someone because of the fact that something is more important than that person, right? And so when you're looking at, your trauma responses in life and what in your life kind of comes forth for you repetitively, we can actually kind of like recognize that in, like, I don't know if we can recognize it as spiritual energy per se, but we can recognize the fact there's something that has not yet been fully processed, emotionally let go, or fully experienced emotionally within ourselves, that we have not had time to grieve it, or we have not like allowed ourselves to understand ourselves deeper, because if we're constantly running away from ourselves and not feeling our emotions and keeping ourselves busy, running ourselves ragged, if we're constantly like taking in substances, so we're numb, so we never really fully can contend to the truth of who we are, then you'll never really understand why you're so drawn to these things in your life, and you'll never understand your deeper hurts and how you can heal yourself even. Because as I was exploring and psychoanalyzing Solas, I kind of came to this understanding about myself, because I was comparing and contrasting Bull and Solas, and I realized, oh, you know what? The reason why I like Solas so much is he's he's that unattainable sort. He will never ever get him. Period. There's always gonna be this longing for, and this constant sadness that I'm addicted to emotionally in my head, until I found out. Sorry for spoilers, by the way. I'm gonna have to put a spoiler for Dragon Age down below. I'm so sorry. But the moment I realized that Solas basically, to me, did the most unforgivable thing a character can do, which is the ultimate betrayal. I'm very betrayal sensitive, which is so interesting. It's part of my trauma. I don't like it when you have a main lead romance character who KOs a very important character in the main lead female's social circle. I don't like it whatsoever. And so I actually went through this weird grief period, and I'm like, so this isn't real. This isn't real, but there must be something psychically, emotionally that I am processing about this betrayal. Because I think that we can all relate to the fact when we have been betrayed by friends, right? In school, like when you're growing up in elementary, middle school, high school, when a friend has basically made fun of you, called you names, bullied you, stole the boyfriend from you. I'm just giving you examples. Abandoned you in some kind of way, or turn people against you. And so sometimes there's like this unprocessed grief that we didn't really fully contend with or understand, and we pushed away because we are often raised, some of us were raised growing up, that our negative feelings had no value, had no place in ourselves, in the home, in the school, in society. And so the problem with that is, and then for some weird reason, we have only one avenue to process this betrayal grief, and that's through fiction. But because we never allow ourselves to feel our emotions, through whether it's through substances, through busy work, God knows what else, then you're like, well, I don't know why I'm continuously drawn to this character Solas, and I don't know how I didn't know that part of the story. I think I was like kind of like, it was like whoop. But then when the moment I realized that's what happened, I was like, no, no, absolutely not. I can't like be drawn to a character like that. And there'll be a couple of times where I would kind of return to this hyperfixation of Solas, and I would have to go through this process of betrayal grief all over again, but it would be quicker and faster, it would be easier. And then I would look at this character going like, I'm not interested in this character anymore. He interests me in no kind of way, because of the fact that I don't like that kind of level of betrayal. I don't like, I remember I had a boyfriend like years ago who betrayed me by cheating on me, and I broke up with him fairly quickly. I struggled with the breakup because I went briefly back with him, but then I like totally ended it for reals. And then I think I got emotionally betrayed in another relationship that was really hard, like because I had a head trauma and I felt like I was being used, and I felt like a lot of things was going on that I was like, I can't do this anymore. And again, I struggled with that because I went, no, I didn't go back with him. I think I was considering it. I'm getting older, so my memory is mostly there, but I don't like thinking about it too much. So that's another reason why sometimes we go to fiction, is sometimes going to the past, especially if sometimes it's just easier, fiction, to process things. It's like, it's like a roundabout way of doing it, feels safer. And this card popped up, by the way, 9 of Cups, wish come true. And then we have 6 of Swords. So there is definitely for some of us, and this is why Great Source is trying to have dialogues with us at this point in time, because we are, because we are connected to our higher wisdom, or more likely to do so, even if it's just a little itty bit, we are opening ourselves to something greater than ourselves, a bigger wish. I think there's a shift going on. We're exiting box mentality. We're going to have the ability to travel, see new things, even if it's just traveling emotionally to different, like if you look at a game, right, there's blacked out parts of the game, and when you travel in the game, the map opens up so you can see more of the map, so you're going to be able to see more in your life. We do have 10 of Wands reverse. Do you see that tree? I'm going to have it up so I can kind of look at it a little bit more. So there's a skull, and then the tree goes outwards. So for me, I feel like 10 of Wands. Let me double check it, but I feel like that's a big completion thing. I don't know why I'm having. Okay, so I think sometimes when I struggle to remember what a card means, I think there is a problem going on here with this card. That to me indicates that I think we're trying to avoid something. We don't want to think about it too hard, and it might be a blockage there. So I'm gonna let myself look at this to help myself out a little bit better. So avoidance, burnout, overcommitting, stretched thin, giving up. Wow. Right on the see avoidance. So you are avoiding this. You are burnout, stretched thin, overcommitting, giving up. I feel like, yeah. Let's put that there. So I can relate to that. Honestly, I can relate to that. King of Swords. So it is time to make some different decisions. It really is time to make different decisions. I think this is another thing that you are struggling to contend with. Wisdom enhanced by power. The griffin is a noble, intelligent creature soaring over land and sea, a symbol for patience, perseverance, and judgment, authority, structure, logic, self-discipline, and loyalty. So I like that a lot for you, especially as earlier we had King of Cups. You have 2 kings in this. I don't want to go too full steam ahead in having too many cards, because I'm starting to get a hard time breathing. And some readers do believe that we channel things through the body sometimes. And I don't want to overwhelm myself or you at this point. So let's take a legit deep breath. Let's take a deep breath. Yeah, so I'm feeling, I do sense the overwhelmed nature of all this. We did talk a lot about a couple of different things, because we brought up about connecting to our inner wisdom, but also to being tempted to give up. But Great Source is encouraging us to be loyal to ourselves. And I feel like they want us to make better decisions. And it seems like there's this little brain fog going on here, where you do need to have some higher authority over yourself. you are responsible for yourself. You have this beautiful thing called free will. But with that said, I get it. We already talked a lot, because if the trauma is hitting too deep, sometimes rushing ahead too soon and too quickly can make you go 2 steps backwards. So we're going to kind of try to wrap around a little earlier than expected, because of the fact that I think we hit a little nerve. I'm going to do one more card. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys, but the Devil card. And we're going to wrap up with the Devil card. So, yeah. This is a toughie, man. I don't even want to talk about it. But I relate a lot to this. I actually had to contend with this card myself for a while. Let's go in a safe zone talking about the Devil card. I really love using pop culture fiction to explore the tarot, because it feels like it creates a safe, like a safe zone, if what you know what I mean. Let's think of, for some reason, Christmas is popping up in my head, and there's a phrase I wrote down: vacation's the state of mind. I literally saw someone, like, it was a sign, literally a sign. It's a sign! And so, I like to say that the commercialized version of Christmas is a really good Devil card, because of the fact that, what was the phrase that I used to love telling myself about the Devil card? Comparison is the root of evil. So if you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, you might overcommit and burn yourself out by keeping up with other people, by trying to be like them, to be a super you version. And I feel like that might be part of the Devil card for you, where you are comparing yourself too much to other people. And I think there's this in your pit, in your belly, like, that is scared. You feel fear in your belly, and maybe a little bit in your root chakra, where you don't feel secure in who you are. You feel unsafe in who you are. And so, and you may actually have a legit fear of snakes, because even if it's a small snake, the snake does represent transformation, and unconsciously you may not even be aware of that. You may be just thinking, I'm not safe. This thing could poison me. This thing could bite me. I could get really, really hurt. And through transformation, often it does hurt at first. It really does. It's deeply uncomfortable. It's deeply unsettling. We're triggered. We think, well, if I'm becoming a better person, shouldn't I be happier? And yes and no. I hate to break it to you. Yes and no. So initially, no. Then for a period of time, you are a little happier. And then you go through another transformation phase where you're unhappy again. And because the skin of a snake sheds, right? It comes off. You are releasing things that no longer served you. So it has to go. And so you have to, there's this initial period too, even when that happens, is when you have new skin, your skin might be, raw. When you get sunburned, right, it hurts. And so your skin has to heal. And so if you're learning new emotional muscles and coping skills, at first it feels really hard to develop these new important skills in your life, like mindfulness, like grounding with your feet pushing against the earth, using sensory tools like coolness, heat, smell, taste, even using yoga, because you have to be consistent with it. You can't just say, oh, I'm not gonna, especially if you, it doesn't mean you're consistent in the fact you're trying. And so maybe your consistency at first is, I'm gonna try to remember to do this once a week. And if I don't do yoga, I'm gonna do something different. I'll do this instead of that. And for myself, I have a couple of different coping skills that I'm regularly using one way or another. Like, I'm using music, a lot. I'm writing a little bit more frequently. I try to do yoga, but I'm more successful at breathing exercises where I force myself to slow down the breath. I'm forcing myself to actually feel my emotions. And I'm also forcing myself not to feel like I have to compare myself to how neurotypical people function in the world. I'm trying to not mask as often, which is deeply uncomfortable. But it allows me to have, it kind of has allowed me to have more of a, like some energy levels. You know, it increases the energy level for me, which is nice. I'm allowing myself to also to not look people in the eyes as often. And I'm allowing myself to be okay with not communicating as quickly and understanding why it's so hard for myself to convey certain things to other people. And I am also giving myself some slack when I over explain things to people, or if I feel triggered, I try to remind myself that I just take a lot of deep breaths, honestly, on a regular basis. So you just try to be consistent as best as you can. Keep at it. Don't give up. It's going to be hard at first, but you got to do it. Like drinking more water, that helps, because then you can breathe a little more easily, especially with the heat. You know, because the devil guard's going to bring the heat, and transformation's going to bring the heat. It's going to be very incredibly uncomfortable. And if you want to become a different person, you need to mentally prepare yourself for how uncomfortable it is. And I know I said I was going to go easy on you, and I do apologize because that's not exactly what happened. I try, but these dialogues are this is why I call them dialogues versus activations. I don't do activations. I don't do tarot readings. When I tried being a tarot reader, the thing that people found the most frustrating about me is that they wanted assurances. They wanted to know for a fact, no matter what, that something would happen the way they wanted it to. Like, if I do this, is this going to happen? Or can you break a curse for me? Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Can you fix me? Or can you assure me that my life is going to get better and it's going to go my way? And I say, I actually, this is a new thing I'm telling myself. If magic has to go my way, I'm not doing magic. You're not doing magic if it has to go your way. Because your way may not be the universe's way. And this is why it's a dialogue. And it's okay if you're not open and receptive to what it needs to be said. It's okay if you're not ready for this. You can just push it to the side. It is okay. But at the same time, the Two of Coins, a balance is necessary. The thing I like about Solas, in terms of the like Hermit in reverse, his isolation of ideas. I think he does like it when people challenge him, but I think he likes it when people say what he wants them to tell him. Like, he doesn't do so well when people challenge him. When people have a different perspective on how things should go, because he's very much is like, it's gonna go this way. I'm gonna do this. This is my idea. This is what's gonna happen. And I'm okay with sacrificing my queen. I'm okay if I have to go a certain way without you guys. And in that isolation, he has mentally limited himself, including his healing. He's mentally limited to other solutions, because you can't have other solutions like that. You just, if you are not available for other voices, you will struggle a lot harder. And I'm not saying if you're, autistic, you have to, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to socialize, but let's treat Solas as a path of warning of the Hermit in reverse. Okay, and I do want to wrap up there because I feel like that was a good place to end. Love and light, marry me, blessed be, amen to your good health. Your responsibility is the disclaimer down below. These dialogues will always be imperfect. That's just how it's going to be. But also too, down below, if you're interested in my poetry book, they're down below. Eventually I might start asking for tips and things like that, but I'm not going to worry about it right now because I'm just processing whether I want to do it again or not. And also too, I really honestly, I feel like I really want to like explore poetry again. So it'd be nice if you support me, and even just a like. All right. Bye.